Okay, I think the recording has begun. So, again, thank you for taking the time out of your day to participate in my research study. It is, of course, as you know, focused on the retention efforts of Fortune 500 companies as it relates to mid-level career women, if you will. So we'll jump right into it. Again, I think this should take about 30 to 40 minutes. Um, and we'll start with there's sort of three sections to the questionnaire. We'll start with essentially the logistics. If you could let me know what corporate function you work in, that would be great.
Like within Lidos
Yeah.
Defense? Is that the
Or corporate function, meaning like your role. What's
talent acquisition.
talent acquisition? Okay. So what specifically do you work on within your role?
So I work new business in my role, so supporting proposals in the pipeline.
Got it.
Yeah, so I work from like the beginning of Lidos, kind of looking at the contract. I come into like the contract teams and help them with recruiting and kind of gauging like people on the ground, incumbent captures, things like that.
Got it. Okay. Awesome. And what are some of the things or reasons that attracted you to your current employer?
So I'm a military spouse.
Okay.
So them working with defense, I've always wanted to work in defense. I just never really like kind of knew how I would get there. Then I kind of fell into DoD recruiting, and I worked for like a startup before, and then I heard Leidos was hiring, and I got lucky getting a job here. Also, just the fact that they're so military spouse friendly, like I work remote. And so, I mean, my husband has a move coming up next year, and that takes half of the anxiety off of me.
Got it. Got it.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. That's great. So are you aware of any diversity and inclusion initiatives at your current place of work?
Yeah. So I actually am the one of the ERG chairs for our ERG community. So I serve on the Young Professionals Network. So I think that there's a huge space for that at Leidos. I think people aren't as aware as I want them to be that we have these ERGs and stuff. But I think the space is getting bigger. So yeah.
Awesome. No, that's great. That's great. And so if we just and you this could be whatever it means to you, but what does inclusion mean to you?
Making sure everybody has a spot at the table.
Okay.
No matter what.
Okay.
Add that in there.
Got it.
Like no matter their race, no matter how they identify.
Got it. Got it.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. And do you feel that you included or that you belong at your current employer?
I do.
You do. Okay. Awesome.
Mm-hmm. Sorry, it kind of like cut out.
Yeah, it's talking just a little bit, but
sorry, I'm taking you on a tour.
oh, not a problem at all. Okay. So, do you know so this is now we're moved into the second out of three sort of segments of the interview. Do you know what organizational assimilation is?
No.
Okay. So essentially that's how the company introduces you to the company, right? So it's way of welcoming you to the company by essentially what is it? Exposing you to cultural norms, the climate of the company, things of that sort. So in thinking about, what I've shared, what did that look like for you? Or what do you think organizational assimilation looks like for you at your current employer?
Okay, can you explain it to me one more time?
Yes. So it is the company again introducing you to its organizational sort of norms and culture, like the climate of the organization, setting expectations, and then also getting to know you and you doing the same, So that could look like something informal. It could be formal. It could be from your supervisor. It can be from the CEO. It could be from programming or anything like that. It's just how do you view organizational assimilation as it relates to your current employer?
Um, so I mean, I think that they do a really good job of, because like I remember, I'm trying to like think through the question and how I want to answer it. So like when I started at Leidos, we have all these like training videos and stuff, and I think that they do a really fantastic job at a corporate level
Got it.
of explaining that to you, if that makes sense, and like making sure that you understand it, even virtually, which is impressive.
Mm-hmm.
But I think like in regards, going back to like my ERG space,
Mm-hmm.
I think that getting to know that part of Leidos was all like myself. Like I did that. Like I sought that out. Like I saw an email from Paul Angola, and then I decided I wanted to apply for a chair role, and I got it. So, and that opened up like a whole nother set of doors, I guess, for that part of Leidos for me. And that was all voluntary, which it's a voluntary thing to be a part of. So I understand why like they maybe don't do it on that big corporate level that they do like our goals and our initiatives and stuff.
Yeah.
But I think that answers your, does it answer your question?
It certainly does. It
Okay.
certainly does. I think you sort of discussed a little bit into my follow-up question. So what did your first 90 days sort of consist of? And you mentioned that there were trainings and things of that sort at the corporate level. So is there anything that stands out to you about how like your current company welcomed you, I guess, the first 90 days?
Yeah. So I think that they did a really, really great job. I joined Leidos in when was it? It's 2021, so 2019. And at that time, like there was like a slew of recruiters that started. So there was like a huge push in doing like trainings for us. And I remember like different recruiters would sit in on them, and they would like explain to us like the tools we use, like kind of like the processes. So I personally had a great experience in the first 90 days with that. And then I remember, like my division manager, or not division manager, Ramon. Ramon called me personally and like welcomed me to Leidos, and that was nice. And then, yeah, I mean, my manager was so on top of it the whole time.
Got it.
So I had a really good experience.
Okay, awesome. And if you could, I'm not sure if know them off back, and if you need to Google, that's fine too. But do you identify with any of the core values of your organization?
Yeah, for sure. I would need to Google them and like figure out what they are. Like, I mean, I know what they are, yeah, but just a little refresher. Yeah, so like the core values: integrity, inclusion, innovation, agility, collaboration, and commitment. Yeah, all of those, I would say.
Yeah.
There's not one in there that I don't feel like I don't associate with.
Okay. And if do you think they're sort of interwoven into just the culture, the DNA, or like you said, I know sometimes you said that you reached out, to get a better understanding of certain opportunities and things like that. But do you think that your current organization does a great job with making for sure that those core values are present and, just uh, really there to sort of even make your own, if that makes any sense?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. I mean, I can see how all of them that are listed are in my daily
Okay.
job. So yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
Cool. And last question of this particular segment. Do you think that you were assimilated? Again, that's like introduced and welcomed, similar to your peers.
Um, so yes and no. So like I mentioned, when I joined Lidos, there was like a slew of us that started at the same time. So I think there was like a huge push to get that done. But then like over the last 2 years, like I've had coworkers and friends join Lidos, and like they haven't had the same training. So like I've offered to train them on Francis's team. So,
Okay.
and that's probably because there's not as many people starting at once, so they don't have those like workday trainings and
Mm.
things like that. Like they're not done within a group like they were for me. So yes and no.
Okay. Okay. Well,
um, but I help people. Like I turn around and I try to help everybody as much as I can.
okay. No, that works. That works.
Yeah.
Okay. And so the last sort of section of this and is focused on job satisfaction. Are you satisfied at your current employer? Why or why not?
I, I missed the last half of that. I cut off. So, are you satisfied at your current employer? And then it cut off.
Why or why not?
Okay. Yes, I am. I think that they have done a really good job at retaining me. Um, they make me want to stay too, so that's nice. Like I've never felt like I wanted to leave. In fact, I joke that I'm going to stay around as long as they'll keep me. So yeah,
Oh,
really satisfied.
okay. And so then if we could just discuss maybe your top three reasons for why you feel satisfied, what would those be?
Um, so I don't know. I don't think I can rank them like in a particular order.
Okay, it's no ranking,
Okay,
just
so
three.
just
Yep.
three. Okay. Definitely their commitment to military spouses. That's huge, huge for me. Um, I genuinely like what I do, and I like the people that help me do what I do, like my coworkers and my managers. Um, and then probably just like the culture.
Mhm.
Because I think, if I'm being honest, like I think in this work that we do, there's a lot of different personalities, and they all differ.
Mhm.
So like I've worked with military, let's say like majors and stuff that come out, and their personality is so different than just like a college kid that got picked up at Lidos. But like at the end of the day, like even though those personalities are so different here, there's people in the middle that are constantly like trying to get them to correlate, if that makes sense. So I think that there's a really good like circle
Yeah.
of I guess that would be inclusion.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Certainly. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, the community aspect of it too, for sure. It's keeps me on my toes, but there's a lot of people that put effort into that, I
No,
think.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Okay. And so we talked a little bit about this too, but are you involved in any activities within or outside the work that you actually do that you value? And you mentioned the ERG. So I'm not sure if there's any other thing that you'd like to discuss, but is that, like if I'm just plainly asking that question, if you're involved into any other activities, um, would it be the ERG that you mentioned earlier? Or, okay.
Yeah, that's mostly it for me because I came into the ERG at like a communications level. So like I got the communications chair, and then long story short, like our actual like national chair and our vice chair, their contracts got bought out. So then they needed people to fill those positions, and IND, inclusion and diversity, they reached out to me and they asked if I would just bump up to the chair, like the overall for YPN. And I did that, and it's been fantastic. I love meeting people. I joined it mainly to see like what other people do within Leidos, because I guess something else to add that I love about Leidos is like the continuous career growth too.
Got it.
And they're pushed for that. So that's really why I joined. I wanted to see if anybody did anything that like maybe I would be interested in a couple of years, like maybe something that would be worth going back to school for or whatever. So aside from that and learning more about Leidos and what people do, I've made really good relationships, and just knowing that there's a space for people. It's really
nice. We have maybe like 2 more questions. Do you know if there are any mentorship opportunities available at your place of work? If so, are you involved in them?
So I know that there's like a mentorship thing, and that's something that I want to ask about. I don't know very much about it. I was actually told by somebody that I worked closely with last year that I should request more information on it. And I think I forgot to during my performance evaluation because they were doing it and they thought it would be great for me to do too. So I know that there is something like that, like formal, but I haven't gotten involved in it yet. I want to.
Okay, got it. And our last question is a few parts to it, but what are your sort of professional but personal goals as it relates to your career, if you will?
So I want to have a career that fulfills me, but is flexible with me in the fact that I am a military spouse. Huge. I've had before I came to Leidos, my life was completely different in that aspect. Like moving somewhere and having to find a job and like taking a job that maybe, to be honest, you're overqualified for. That's hard. So I want to have a job that fulfills me while remains flexible with me. And then eventually, have a family and have a job that gives me that flexibility in time to work, because I think I'll always work. But I do. So yeah, I do want to have a family. And that's part of that too.
Okay. And so then do you feel supported by your current organization in your goals?
Yeah, I 100% do. Like when my husband found out like a month ago that he was going to be moving next year, or we're going to be moving next year, and it's still like up in the air because the way the military goes, it's hurry up and wait. And then they'll tell us like 2 weeks and they're like, you're gone. Yeah. So when I brought that up to my manager, no questions, you're fine. Like whatever you need to do, take care of it, like take care of home. You have a hot spot, you'll be fine. So definitely supported.
Okay. And then a little bit separately, do you feel that you're making progress towards your goals?
I do. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I really do, thinking about that. Because another thing for me personally is like, there's a lot of like stigmas, like I've kind of touched on a little bit in military spouse world. Like we just move and we pick up a position that, I did it. I've done it before. Like it was a filing position and I made like no money, and like just going back to that and like remembering that and like remembering or looking at this military move, it's just so different. And I feel so much more secure and so much better that I have this job and it's going to follow me and they're going to support me. Yeah.
Okay.
Does that answer?
No, it definitely does. Okay.
Okay.
Well, you have been great. That wraps up my questions, unless there's anything that you would like to add, as far as, the retention efforts of your company. Otherwise, you definitely help to provide insight into what organizations are essentially doing well. So I think that was great.
All right. Well, I'm happy to help. So if you have anything else that you need help with, just let me know.
Thank you.
All right.